Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Me, rightful here. Today we're going for the 4th episode of the CFC Q&A, the weekly Celtic Q&A, where I answer topical questions that I might not get to answer or talk about in normal length videos, just because it wouldn't be enough to really kind of saturate. So I get to answer topics and discussions and such that you might want me to see or talk about through the Twitter link, through the Twitter hashtag, which will be on the screen now, where you send in your questions every week and I answer them on a Sunday. So let's not waste any further time. You're aware of how it works now. It's been a pretty decent week enough for Celtic. We beat Hamilton today, later on in the 3 o'clock kick-off 1-0, and we drew with Sadova away from home. Probably should have been having a better result, but you know what, I'm not going to complain because we've got a positive result going to Parkhead and really should be taking it home now. But let's get to see the questions that have been sent through this week. Alright, so the first question of the episode comes from Celtic Craig 1888, and he asks, if we buy a decent defender at the last minute, could we go all the way and do a Seville? Realistically, I don't think so. I'm going to be honest, as much as I dream and as much as I'd love to see us do that, get to a Europa League final, I mean, it would be so good. It'd be a fantastic day out as well. Add that into the bargain. It'd be fantastic to see us go all the way, and as much as I'd love to see it, look, the way football has changed over the past 15 years since Seville is unbelievable. 2003, 2008, very different times. First of all, 2003, we just had a far better squad all round. Think about the players we had. I mean, sometimes you sit down, you don't even realise the team that we had, it was sensational. Larson, Sutton, Hartson, Lennon, Big Bobo Balde, Alan Thompson, all these fantastic players. It was unbelievable. We have a decent enough team now, but football has shifted so differently that, you know, the teams that are at the top of the Europa League, like Arsenal, Chelsea, AC Milan and Red Bull Leipzig, all these teams are just so much superior because of that one main thing. Look, I'd love to see us go, and maybe team spirit could carry us, but how far could it carry us? I'd love to see us go to the very end. I'd love it. Never say never, I suppose, but realistically, I don't think we would get to the Europa League final this season. Interesting question by Lewis. He says, how many signings do I think we'll make versus how many signings do you think will be made? So that's a kind of expectations versus reality question. Apparently, Brendan Rodgers has said to Peter Lawley, ideally, like to make 3 more signings before the window shuts. Realistically, will we make 3? Maybe if Brendan Rodgers really pushes for it, we could. There's only a week to go now, though. It shuts at the end of the month, of course. So we're leaving it a bit late if we want to sign 3 players. You know, we might go back in for McKenna, we might go in for Bruma, we might be looking for an attacking player as well. It's a lot to ask for in the space of 1 week, I think. In reality, we will get 1 player over the line. I hope so. I think the talk of a defender is becoming more realistic. We've actually went in for McKenna, and you know, it may have not went through and it may not went as far as what Brendan Rodgers or the board would have liked, but the intention was there to sign him, so I still think the intention to sign the defender will remain. So much of my surprise, I didn't think Peter Law would sign anyone after getting knocked to the Champions League, but no, I think we will sign at least 1 player. I'd like to sign 2 or 3, but reality, I think we'll just get the 1 defender over the line with how short there is left on the clock. Celtic Craig also asks, bit late, but thoughts on signing John Terry? You know, he's one of the, in my opinion, he's the greatest Premier League centre-back of all time. He's a bit by it now, he's almost 40. To be honest, I'd leave it out. I think his legs are gone. Didn't see much from at Villa last year. He could have been better than what I might give him props for. But no, I would just leave it at this point. I think Terry's done. Kai Fraser, Chalmers and Robert Sutherland both asked the same thing and saying, am I confident for the Rangers game next week, the Old Firm match? I'm going to cover this more when I make my match preview this week, which will be a very interesting video to say the least. I'll give my predictions and my thoughts and everything in the build up to the game. But yeah, I'm confident. I think a lot of Rangers fans are getting a little bit ahead of themselves, and this is not me coming out on YouTube and slaughtering Rangers, and they deserve a bit of respect for the start of the season they've had, there's no denying about that, but before they played Motherwell today, they were all so confident, also cocky about the game next week. Look, there's so much that could have changed and can change still in the space of this week. We have 2 home games in between, they have 2 away games. They went to Motherwell today and really struggled, we're lucky to get a point. They've got to go to Russia as well. This whole week could change everything going into this, and motivation, everything on their side. You know, they are so confident that could be knocked down with 2 losses away from home, and we could get 2 wins at home. It can all flip like that by the end of this week. So I think they went a wee bit head over heels with it, but what can you do? I'm confident though. We'll talk about it more on the video this week. I don't want to give too much away. I want people to watch that. King and Charm asks, should we try and trade Ryan Christie and some money for McKenna? To be honest, if it wasn't too much money, I would go through with that. I'm not a massive fan of Ryan Christie. I don't think he's Celtic quality. I think he's very resemblant to the Scott Allen situation. I just don't think he's good enough to play for Celtic, and he excelled at Aberdeen. He looked great, and he was brilliant at Inverness. I think he's, you know, that kind of calibre. Below Celtic, but, you know, good enough to be the star player of any other team in the league. He's good enough for that. McKenna, I think, would be a decent enough swap because it brings in a position which ultimately we need to improve on. And I don't think we lose out too badly on that if we gave them Christie and some money. So I would do that if it was an option, but I mean realistically it's not going to be an option. Derek McInnes values McKenna so much more than just, you know, what, £3 million and a player. So I doubt it would go through, but if it was an option on the table, I'd consider it, yes. JWHD, a bit of a random question. Asked what do I think of the third kit this season. Honestly, it's grew on me a lot. At first, I thought it was horrific, one of the worst kits I've ever seen. It was up there for you know, that title, the worst Celtic kit ever. But it's grew on me a lot. I probably still wouldn't buy it. But it has grown on me. It's not as bad as what I originally thought of it. We'll see by the end of the season if I still think the same. I think it's a kit though in like 5 years we'll always look back and go there, or like in 20 years even. That's a retro kit. I think that's what you'd think of that. Interesting question from Kevin Livingston, who asked, do I think Baton has a future at Celtic after his injury? I think Neil Baton's Celtic career is basically over. I imagine he will get back in and about the team at some point this season. I feel Brendan Rodgers will feel some sort of entitlement to give him a go because he was in the team before he got injured. So I mean, I think he will get a go here and there, but I don't think his future's massive. I don't see him ever getting back in to the start lineup. A lot of people suggesting maybe he's the answer to the centre back problem. No, not a chance. No, never in a million years. I think his career at Celtic's basically done. I eventually will probably move on. I don't know exactly how long's left on his contract. I could see him leaving at the end of that spell and just going a free somewhere. But it'd be good if we could get some money for him. It will be difficult. He's not played football in a good while now. I mean, I can't even remember the last time he was in the starting 11. So I mean, I think his value isn't going to be great. We wouldn't get a lot from him, but if we could get any money, I would go ahead and sell him. I just feel like he's really, you know, we've got too many good centre mids for him to get into the team, and he's certainly not a centre back. So I wouldn't say he's the answer to the problem or anything. I do see him leaving Celtic over the next year. Fredo Forrester says, rank the top 5 best players at the club in order of how good they are. His unpopular opinion is that Cal McGregor is the best player. In order of how good they are, right? This is the way I'm going to put it. I'm not doing it on a consistent basis because you said how good they are. I'm going to go from when they play their best football, their absolute best, like have man of the match performance. Who is the best players at the club? Well, I'm starting with Moussa Dembele. Moussa Dembele at the top. When he turns up and plays his best, I don't think there's a better player on the Celtic team. So I'm going for Moussa Dembele at number 1. At number 2, I'm going for Tom Rogic. When he plays his best, once again, very unplayable. He's not been his best recently. I think he's actually been quite poor recently. He needs to sharpen up a little bit. But when he plays his best football, he's one of the best players in the country. I'm putting Rogic at 2. Number 3, I'm putting McGregor because I think he's sensational, an unbelievable player, and very underrated. And I don't blame you for putting him at number 1. To be honest, he could be number 1 in my list because he's a very consistent player, and I like that about him. But I think, you know, he's still that kind of step maybe down from Rogic when he plays his best and Dembele and such. So I'm putting McGregor 3. Number 4, I'm putting Scott Brown because he's the captain, he's the machine, he's the motivator. There's so much to his game rather than just technical ability that makes him so important and so good. So I'm putting Scott Brown at number 4, and at number 5, difficult. There's a few players that deserve to be in there, in Cham, Edouard, Forrest, Sinclair. I'm going to go with Tierney though, the only defender on the list. I think exceptional. And still really young and a lot to improve, a lot of potential there, so I'm going to put that as my top 5. I don't think it's a bad shout. People may disagree with me. Let me know your top 5. That's a good question to ask you. Zach asked, do I think the team lack chemistry this season? It looks as though they've never played together at points, and that is absolutely true. There's been points in the qualifiers and in the opening games of the season. We just don't look like we've gelled. We don't look like that the double treble winning side. We just don't look as sharp and as good. But at the end of the day, it's early doors. I think we've had to deal with a lot of fitness issues and in and outs and tactical changes. You know, we originally intended to start the season with this Dembele Edouard link up, and now we've got to the point where, you know, both guys have struggled for fitness. We've had to chop and change. And the team have to get used to it. It's still early doors as well. I think eventually they will look like there's a more bonding in the squad, more chemistry. The chemistry is there. I just think we struggle sometimes to get breaking down teams. That is really the issue. The chemistry, I think, is there. It's just, you know, try to get the job done. Try to get that final product. The defence is zero chemistry, it feels like. Now that we've got our strongest back four back, we might see an improvement, as in Hamilton today. You know, they never really posed a threat, but there was definitely improvement from what has been the last couple of months. I think defensively there is no chemistry when Boyata's not in the squad, and it's just a makeshift kind of back four, nothing there. But going forward, I still think there is bags of chemistry. They just struggle sometimes, and they're still waiting to sharpen up and get that bit up the arse they need to get the season kick started. To end off the episode, I'm going to answer the question from Anthony Lawless, who said thoughts on Mikey Johnson. I'm looking forward to seeing Mikey Johnson get more of a chance within the team this season. Sinclair's obviously dipped that little bit and needs a kind of kick up the arse whenever left winger. And we need someone who's going to meet the sufficient quality needed on that left-hand side of the park, and I think Michael Johnson's a player who's constantly going to improve because he's so young, and he has improved recently. He came on the other night against the Dubai, started the game, he got an assist, he looked sharp, he looked raring to go. He came on today, looked decent enough. I think he's a player with bags of potential, and I'm dying to see him get in the team more. I want to see him develop into a player that we can start eventually. And I think he will, given the chances. But right now, you know, it's difficult. You know, you've got tough games. We need to start our best players and not the players who could be the best in a few years' time. So it'll be difficult for him to break into the team and keep a starting place there. But eventually, over time, he may. But I'm a big fan of him. I want to see him do well, and hopefully he does get more chances. That about does it then, guys, for this episode of the CFC Q&A. Hopefully I covered as many questions as you'd like to hear as possible. Make sure to tune in every week and make sure to follow the Twitter link, which is on the screen, at CFCQA118. And you can get in on the next few episodes. As I said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.